Good day, fellow geeks. It's Pirate Week in Azeroth, as well as all of the cinematics have been released, and YAAARRR, the legendary cloak is going away. Plus many more on this week's episode of Geeks of Azeroth. Walk the plank, matey. YAAARRR. Hello, and welcome to the show. Sorry for my terrible pirate impression there at the beginning. But it was Pirate Week, Pirate Day, whatever, so had to do it. My name's Tarly, and with me, usual suspects, we got Zool and TC McIlroy over there, Tom, whatever your name is. We can never get that. How's everybody doing this week? Anybody have some exciting news to tell from the land of Azeroth?
Go on, Jake.
All right, well, first off, right before we started, one of my friends sent me this text and said to say it on the podcast. So it's a horribly cheesy joke and pokes a little fun at WoW, but it's all in good humor. So how many Warcraft orcs does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
I'm not going to guess.
Just one. He holds the light bulb in the socket, and the freaking plot revolves around him. So yeah, I censored it a little bit there, but yeah, you get the point.
I can imagine that being a little bit more heated, a little bit under the tooth.
Yeah, it sounded like it was someone that was actually angry about it, but I thought it was just kind of funny. Anyways, I actually did play some WoW this week, so I have a right to be on the show again.
Yay!
First, I spent some time on the PTR just messing with the new character models, you know, transferring over my various characters and seeing if I liked how they looked, if I wanted to change how they looked, and came to the decision for my main, my druid, that I was just going to change up the hair color and the tusk style a little bit, but otherwise leave the face and everything the same. And then I actually spent some time on my main druid, went into LFR, Throne of Thunder, and I ran every single wing, all 4 wings, but I went from having, like, how many? I had, like, 10 Secrets of the Empire to finishing that.
Ooh.
So I'm on the part where you have to kill Nalik, but they have patched and hotfixed all the ways to let you solo him. So I've been trying to jump on every now and then to see if, if enough people from my guild are on, just help me do it real quick. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm actually making progress on the legendary quest line now.
Good, finally, because we'll get to it later, but it's going away. What about you, Tom? Anything done on WoW this week?
I will just say, going back to Zul's point on Malak, I believe, hopefully it hasn't been fixed, when I did it a couple of weeks ago, something like that, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a way to solo it where you pulled him and you ran up the stairs into basically the Throne of Thunder. And
where the guards are.
Yeah, where the guards are, and he'll despawn. But the thing that you need will still follow you around, so then you run back into the courtyard and just run away. So if you do it that way, eventually the mob will eventually just disappear because his life drains away very slowly. So effectively, all you've got to do is just kite Nalak up the stairs, wait for him to despawn, and run around the courtyard until the thing completes itself. So that might still work. Hopefully it does. But in regards to me, I finally finished the legendary cloak quest. And
oh yes!
Wish I had a sounder for some more cheering, but I don't, because that needs to be done. Yay!
Yeah, so I finished it. I mean, it was incredibly rewarding. Don't get me wrong, anyone who hasn't done it, and yeah, we'll get onto it in a bit, by all means start the quest and get going with it, because mainly when you're scrolling through your gear and then you see purple, orange, and you just think, yes, I've done it, and it looks cool. But saying that, I've literally got the cloak and then I logged off. This was last weekend, so I literally haven't done anything since in regards to sort of that character. I haven't really tested how much the DPS goes up since, but otherwise just sort of been logging on and off of vaults. Just really, like we said last week, just getting ready for 6.0.2 really. So it's getting nearer, and I'm getting excited. Yeah. What about yourself?
Kind of like Jake, I spend a lot of time in the PTR again, hopping around. I did the quest line. I didn't want to go too far. I didn't do the whole thing. I'm like, well, I don't want to bore myself of it before it's actually out. I was interested to find that Thrall's bald. I thought he had a ponytail. Whatever.
I was completely bald.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they changed that, because I remember seeing pictures of him in beta. He had a ponytail, but now he's
going to the Bruce Willis and Jason Statham look.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting older and still somehow more muscular, so he has to shave his head. It's the only way.
That's what you do when you become an old action star. You shave your head.
I
got kids now as well.
Chris Metzen will probably follow suit, since he plays him. He has to shave his head.
Do it.
The ultimate in method acting.
But no, notice that. I thought that was cool, but really I played every single race, made one just because I really wanted to play around with the new character models. And, all of my Blood Elf characters are, non-existent. And I had trouble transferring characters. I don't know if anybody else did, but I can't transfer any of my live characters, so I wasn't really able to test out with my gear, stuff like that, how the damage goes and stuff. But it's still interesting to play around with the stat squish. But I didn't actually do much on live myself. Kind of gave up on leveling my mage, finishing that up. So, I've got enough characters as it is.
You get to the fatigue stage, so I don't really blame you.
I just really want to be focused once the new patch comes out, which is going to be relatively soon. So moving on, first item of business here. Blizzard has released all of the in-game cinematics for Warlords of Draenor in a big spoilery post. I don't know, do you think we should play this on the show?
I
didn't even watch any of them.
Yeah, I watched.
I was like, nope.
I watched the very first one, and that was enough for me to be like, why'd I do that? Okay, I'm done. Stop it here.
Where's my Men in Black memory wipe thingy?
Exactly. But if you guys...
Where do these... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, if you guys do want some spoilers, it's right on the front page of worldofwarcraft.com. On their blog, you can definitely check those out. It's every single in-game cinematic for
I think in that
content.
blog, they said spoilers about as many times as we did when we did our Telltale Tell-All.
And even the first video isn't even a video, it's a video of saying spoilers.
Don't watch the rest of the video, it's spoilers.
So, you are warned that it will spoil some content. I mean, the first video isn't necessarily something you expect, it's just kind of the characters running through the Dark Portal. So I was kind of okay with that. But what I saw was the best in-game cinematic that has been in the game ever.
Ooh, I'm excited.
It is so well animated and so well... I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's kind of like what we're seeing with the Lords of War, like the beginning, those intro parts, but better. It's awesome.
Does the first one actually spoil anything?
No, it's literally them like killing some orcs and then onward through the portal, and then there's more orcs. So
I might check that one out then.
Yeah, if anything, check that one out if you don't want to spoil too much for yourself. But I don't know why they did that. Why do you think they did that?
I think with so many people being in the beta, not us though.
Not us.
Not us though. There were a lot of instances where people were going in-game and they were completing certain stages of quest lines, and then I don't know how they did it, but there was kind of a section which kind of hinted that there was going to be a cinematic, and then you just skip straight through it because it wasn't in the beta. So I think it's kind of a gesture to those people on one end to say this is what you would have seen. But on the other hand, I guess anyone who wants to see that content can choose to do it. If you don't want to see it, don't look at it. If you want to see it, here it is. Mm-hmm. It's very tempting though.
And I think a big part of it is nowadays everything gets leaked.
Yeah.
And instead of letting it get leaked, just say, look, here it is. If you want to watch it, great. If not, just wait and watch it. Before it could be like, oh, this has been leaked, and is it official? Is it not official? No. Here it is. Just whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I was going to say there. Totally lost my train of thought. Anyone else have anything more to say about these? I mean, it's cool, but I'm not going to watch all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to see them in game.
Yeah.
Do you think this poses any purpose to gamers other than just simply revealing the content? I mean, I don't know. I mean, are people going to use this in any way to shape their gaming experience? And the reason I think is at the back of my mind, some wacky idea is that someone might watch this and go, oh, it seems like the more interesting story happens in this zone, so I might go there, or something like that. But saying that,
I think it could help people maybe get their hopes up a little bit for Drano, or some people who were doubting that it's going to be not as good a content. You see just the first one of these videos, and you're like, oh, wow, they're really stepping up the production quality. So I think that could be why they did it, just to show people, hey, look, we're doing this. Be excited. Spoil the game for yourself, but be excited. Oh, it's interesting. But moving on, this week in World of Warcraft, we celebrated Pirates Day. Is this the first time this has ever happened in game? Because I don't recall seeing this before.
To my knowledge.
I mean,
I'm not sure if it's the first time they've done it in game or not.
It was National Pirates Day, so it's not just a WoW thing. For some reason, the entire world wanted to celebrate pirates. YAAARRR!
It's been going on for, like, International Speak Like a Pirate Day, September 19th, has been around for quite a long time. The first time I remember hearing about it was probably about 10 years ago. But, like, on September 19th, which is past now.
Yeah.
But if you go to a Krispy Kreme donut with like a certain number of pirate-themed clothing on, and you speak like a pirate, you get free donuts. So there's businesses that celebrate it. There's a band I really like called Captain Dan and the Scurvy Crew. They are pirate-themed hip-hop, and they tend to always release their albums on September 19th every year on Speak Like a Pirate Day. Their concerts, they perform in full head-to-toe pirate gear. They're hilarious. Their music is absolutely freaking hilarious. If you like lots of pirate slang, innuendo, and pirate hip-hop, I highly recommend them.
Pirate-themed hip-hop.
Yes. It's amazing. Seriously, it's so good.
I'll have to look into this. Yeah, me being at work, I got reminded of that, so I started talking to customers like that. That was pretty interesting.
I should have done it yesterday.
How can I fix your computer today?
except that I work the front desk at a massage therapy place. Yarr, where you be hurting today? They'd be like, what?
Let me give you an old rub down.
I don't think that's
all I'm getting is Mr. Krabs at the moment from SpongeBob. That's all I'm hearing.
It works.
Yeah. Yarr.
It does.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
I don't know. Do you guys think this could be more Blizzard implementing more holidays into WoW?
I hope they do, because, like, I mean, they didn't really do much for it. It was like, here's a pirate costume, and, you know, NPCs are dressed like pirates. But if they could expand on it and just have these little single-day holidays, they aren't big, long things like the holidays they have, but have, like, one or two fun little quests. They don't need to give anything major, but just fun. And because every month probably has at least one or two of these weird little holidays.
Yeah.
And just throw them in there. Just keep things interesting. It'd be fun.
Definitely. I would like to see that as well. Moving on, so we've had some big kind of controversial news. Didn't kind of see this coming, but the Legendary Cloak questline is actually being removed in 6.0.2. Just surprising.
I just got it. Why?
Did anybody see this coming? Like, I don't know. Are you surprised that they are completely removing the questline?
I kind of am. I thought they would just leave it be, you know, and if you wanted to go back and do it, you could. It wouldn't really be super relevant at that point, you know, because the legendary item you'd get would not be relevant to max, you know, end level content anymore. But there's a lot of story in that. there's a lot of background info, and I feel like that is important info if someone wanted to go back and experience it later on.
Yeah. I do have to pause for a second and just point out something I noticed from Tom's video feed. He was paused for a second, and then it all caught up in very fast motion, so he was kind of waving his arms and doing stuff very quickly for a second. So I
That's going to look good.
Laughed while you were talking there, Jake. That's what that was about. I wasn't laughing at you.
Just at me.
Laughing at Tom instead, yes.
That's fine then.
But yeah, with every other legendary, you can go back and get them if you want to. This one, they're completely removing it. So, yeah, heads up to everybody. If you wanted to get your legendary cloak, you've got about less than a month to do it.
Well, what it is once 6.0.2 drops, you can't start the quest anymore, but if you're still on it, you have until Warlords to finish it.
So
chop, you can't start the quest line, but you do still have more time than that to finish it if you're already on it.
You think
And Gaze of the Backwards will go through all the way up to 6.0.2, so not massively helpful, I guess, if you're wanting to start the quest after, but still, it's more helpful than the original deadline.
Yeah, and they're going to be completely removing the Valor point part of it, so you just skip right past that.
Yes, cheers for that. I don't know. I'm still surprised by this. I don't really understand why they're taking it away.
Yeah.
I think
I really like some of the stuff you see, like when Rathian is showing you the world with the Legion falling on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool stuff. I want to be able to go back and see that on characters every now and then.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, because Blizzard's always... It seems like they were trying to make it more accessible for your alts to go back and do old content. So with removing that, it kind of goes against what they've been doing as far as that goes.
I mean, at one level, though, I think we can understand it because, we've talked about on the previous show about how the cloak really is kind of like an heirloom in some respects. So I guess maybe they're trying to make, future cloaks going up to level 100 less redundant, maybe. But at the same time, it's probably from Blizzard's view, they're arguing, how often are people going to be able to access Pandaria raid content in the quantity necessary to get the stuff. I mean, we've all might have popped back to Cataclysm or before once twice, but you've got to do a preformed guild. If you sat there with a preformed guild and said, listen guys, we've got to get 60 different items in a build up to this quest, it's hard. But saying that, you're right. I think there's a really odd cut-off point. Putting this cut-off point of 6.0.2 right in the middle, maybe there's a technical problem why they can't implement it. Maybe the cloak's proving a little bit more problematic as a buff switching technique or something like that. I don't know. But if you're going to say to people, we're going to make it easier for you, put Gaze of the Black Prince in, which is something people have asked for months. Don't say we're going to keep the Gaze going, the thing that lets you get things sooner, up to 6.0.2, and then we're going to start cutting people out of it. And I just think you're right. It makes it so much more accessible, and then they just start cutting chunks out, and it's kind of, one step forward, two steps back, in my opinion.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that we'll understand why in the future. But for now, it's a bit confusing. So, if you haven't started your Legendary Cloak quest, you've got to get on that because it's September 20th today, and from what we know, 6.0 is most likely going to drop a month before Warlords, which drops November 13th. So, around October 13th-ish.
So, less than a month from now.
Yep. So, get ready, everybody. It's coming.
I need to get it, because I think I settled on sticking with my balance spec for my main. Yep. I was thinking of switching to Feral, but I'm going to go balance. That's the cloak I'm going to get, is the ranged spellcaster cloak.
It's a fun class to play. Moving on.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
A new title has emerged within the beta for Warlords of Draenor, Legend of Pandaria. What does this entail?
Well, it's basically in a way, this makes it even more odds that they're removing the questline. It's effectively, if you get the cloak on any one of your characters, by the time 6.0 drops, you get a title that says Legend of Pandaria. You are a legend in Pandaria. And obviously it can apply to not just the character that gets the cloak or characters, but it applies to characters you consequently make after that. So it covers, in a way, it kind of rewards you just for doing the quest once, which is a nice touch personally. But saying that, it links back to what we said a second ago. Why get rid of the quest if you're then just going to use it as a feat of strength point? Because what I mean to say is you've got a feat of strength sort of title. Why the cloak's going to become a similar thing? You know, only certain people will be able to access the cloak because there's a cut-off point. But saying that, it's nice that they're rewarding the players rather than the characters. I think that's something that's been missing.
Yeah,
it's almost similar to Warlocks and their Greenfire. Like, you're going to get this exclusive title if you did it before 6.0, but the difference is you'll still be able to get the Greenfire after Warlords.
Yeah. And one thing they said with the Legendary Quest line is even when it goes away, you can still go back to that one vendor and buy past rewards from it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go back and, you know, buy the other cloaks once you're that far or all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
So we all need to be legends, at least.
Yes.
All I picture is, you know, the title.
We're legends.
Right? All I picture, though, is the title Legend of Pandaria /Flex. That's all I picture.
Do you think, though, that people they throw in these new titles, just very quickly, do you think new titles are perhaps a little bit like non-points? I mean, I usually use Kingslayer.
Yeah.
For killing the Lich King, because I think that just sounds so good, and plus Game of Thrones reference and all that. But Kingslayer, exactly. It's a great title. Yeah. I can't see myself switching to Legend of Pandaria.
Right. I liked back when your title actually felt unique, or like, oh, that guy's the Kingslayer, or that guy's the Light of Dawn. Like, wow, he worked a lot to get that. Now, I don't know. I see a lot of titles that everybody has, and they kind of feel not as important. So I actually understand the whole, like, get it now while it's still here. It almost makes it feel not more important, because then you can't get that title later. You know, like, for those people I still see walking around with Hand of Adol, like, yeah, that guy. You can't get that anymore.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Legend of Pandaria, actually, like, I think that'll work for my character, because as I've said before, my character was started once Pandaria launched and then was my first max level. And so Pandaria is a huge part of my character's progression, because that's mainly where I've played him. Yeah. So it fits for my character just for that reason. Even though I won't have it yet. I need to go finish that quest line soon.
While we're on titles, does anybody have a favorite title in-game? You said yours is Kingslayer?
Yes, mine is. Second only to the Patient.
The one everybody has.
Yeah.
What
about you, Zul?
I barely have any titles at all anyways, so I don't really have a favorite.
I have to say mine is Starcaller. Got that back in the Ulduar days, and it's one that I'm most proud of, even though most people have it now. I don't know, I cling to that title because it was like my first raid title that I got at content.
I need to go get that and then just constantly use Starfall as a balance druid. See?
Yeah. I just want to get the salty title because my monk's name is Bread, so I could be Salty Bread.
I like it.
All right, some little news. I don't think anybody's surprised by this one at all. The new PvP Season 15 is ending when 6.0 drops. No real surprise there, so if you are trying to get some PvP titles or mounts, gotta get those quickly as well, because when 6.0 drops, season's over. So get your achievements, PvPers. Get them while they're hot. I never managed to get my achievement this year because my team dropped out and don't want to play anymore. Garr!
You sound like you've just been abandoned.
I have been.
This lone little wolf.
I am a lone wolf now, and yeah, so I put solo content for fun.
Aww. Just go back to your old vanilla raids and play about there.
I call that fun. No. But more news. I'm a little bit more surprised by this as well. The Brawlers Guild. I didn't realize it was actually being separated into seasons. But the Brawlers Guild Season 1 is ending with 6-0, and no more until Season 2 starts in Draenor. Had they really talked about seasons before now with the Brawlers Guild?
I don't think so.
I was in a similar position to you, Charlie. I thought this was just something that kept going and going and going. Maybe that was a mistake on my part, but I mean, it's more promising than anything else. I mean, they're talking about closing it down because they want to work on the new content and implement it. So, you know, it's a really good thing, but I don't think anyone expected it to have any downtime. That's the thing that shocks people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even... And like they didn't say it's going to come back with Warlords. They said after.
Yeah, that's
so it might be a while after Warlords before it comes back. But it makes sense that it would be broken up into seasons because the max level is changing. Stats are changing. They've got to rework stuff to make it work for that. So I think it would make sense to just have each expansion be a season, unlike PvP where you have multiple seasons per expansion. Just have Season 1 was Pandaria, Season 2 is Warlords, Season 3 will be the next one. Just have it go with, you know, as max level increases, create new fights for it.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's fun.
Season PvE content. Cool stuff.
That's it. And on top of it as well, it gives Blizzard a bit, like exactly what you're saying, Zor, about it being not necessarily specific to release day. It gives Blizzard a bit more control over content release, which obviously is probably going to be the most focused on aspect of this whole expansion, is when content comes out and how quickly. If they can hold this back a little bit longer, maybe when people get to a lull, they'll go, right, here's Season 2, and it keeps people going for a couple of months until the next raid tier or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, and further news for all of you hardcore level raiders who also happen to be in the beta. First of all, I envy you. Second, Mythic raiding has started as of yesterday, Friday the 19th, on the beta. They're going ahead and testing that out for your level 100 characters, and I bet you anything, it's hard.
Probably.
I mean, I've seen several groups kind of steamrolling through heroic mode on some of the boss testing. I don't know if they have the bosses just kind of tuned down to test mechanics or if they're not all that difficult. But I'm really hoping to see some good test footage of the Mythic raiding. I want to see people just wiping over and over again. That's what I want to see.
I'm trying to think I'm trying to get some impressions as to how it went for those initial tests. There doesn't seem to be a lot coming out. But did you guys hear anything from any other players about their experiences?
Not yet. You know, I follow several on Twitter, and I haven't really seen too much come out, even though I haven't really been watching my Twitter wall that well. You heard anything, Jake?
I haven't really seen much about it.
I don't know. It must be so hard that they can't even pick up Twitter to talk about it. Like, we have to. We're not sleeping until we down a boss.
That is the only conclusion.
Do you think, though, just very quickly, what are our very quick thoughts on how Mythic raiding has sort of been set up so far, and do we think it's going to meet every expectation? I mean, for myself, the way I've perceived it, the real hardcore raiding tiers of the game, it's stuff that, I have to be honest with myself, I don't think I'm ever going to touch, maybe. Not for a couple of expansions, if I have to really push the boat out, but I've always seen that the hardcore of the hardcore, the Blood Legions and so on and so forth, the people, you know, if you've watched the documentaries, the people that stuff is about, they needed this tier, and I really hope that even though I personally may not see it, that they get the experience they want. But, I mean, do you think it's going to meet that expectation?
That's what I'm hoping. I would love to see it be that content, that kind of like what the Burning Crusade was. The Burning Crusade's raid, like when it was at content, like when Black Temple was the current raid tier, or when Sunwell Plateau was the current raid tier, it was hard, and only like 4% of the player base was actually getting through it. And I'd actually, for some reason, I'd like to see that for Mythic, just because I want that player base to not feel like the game is a pushover. And then, you know, maybe the more casual, still hardcore, but more casual raiders will still be able to get into it later on once they've gathered more gear, and then the more even normal mode raiders will be able to push into it next tier, be able to push into that last tier Mythic. But yeah, I'd like to see it be really hard.
Yeah. I'd like to see it, kind of what they've talked about is really use the mechanics of the individual classes, which is kind of what their goal is with the set raid size and everything. But really see some interesting use of class-specific abilities. Could be really fun, really cool stuff.
Yeah. You have a lot of fun there.
Slowfall for mages. I'd love to see that in a mechanic.
You have to slow fall all 20 of your raid members before they hit the ground.
Ready to go. Everyone gets launched in the air. They're like,
I tried to do that with, is it Malkorok? In Siege of Orgrimmar, when he does his thing. I tried to see if I could ever click on my raid party at the same time, and I managed to get most one, maybe two in one instance, but you kind of feel so much more valued when someone's about to fall and hit, 50k, and suddenly they slow for it literally the last second. You get nuked afterwards and you're dead, but you feel like you're valued at the end of it.
It would be cool if they did something like that, where people get launched in the air, but the tanks are the ones that take the most damage, and you could say it's because they're tanks, they wear heavier stuff, whatever.
That'd be cool.
So the mage actually does have to stop and slow fall the tank, or else the tank might take a huge hit, which will make the healers have to catch up and lose on their mana, that'd be kind of cool. The mage actually has to stop DPSing and help with some defensive stuff. Mix it up.
And I know I've already mentioned it on the show, but Ian Hazakostas last year at BlizzCon mentioned so many different times about Mage and Spellsteal, how much he loved that ability. So
you're gonna have to use it every other. You're like
Mages
DPS
be prepared.
Move, Spellsteal. DPS move, Spellsteal. Over and over.
So
and over.
Mythic Raiders, be prepared if you're a mage. Spellsteal everything. Spellsteal all the things. So. Moving on, heirloom gold vendors to be removed in 6. They're taking away everything in 6.0.2, guys. Everything is ending.
The game's never going to be the same.
So we were expecting to be able to purchase heirlooms with gold come, 6.0.2, but that's not a thing. This is due to the removal of the justice points and valor points. So how will we get heirlooms if there's no gold vendor either?
Well,
it's only temporary, then they're coming back.
Is that?
Sorry, go ahead, Tully. You can say something.
I was just muttering to myself. Go on.
Well, the official release from Bashiok is that. I'll just read it very quickly. It says, with the upcoming release of patch 6.0.2, we'll be sending the vendors who sell heirlooms for justice points on a nice vacation. As you might already be aware, both justice and valor points are being removed as currencies from the game in 6.0.2. And basically, I'll paraphrase now, they've been working on new ways to buy heirlooms, but they found that they were setting the value of heirlooms up on a sort of roller coaster ride. And that's because they're trying to work on a larger heirloom system. For future patches, and they didn't want to introduce an interim pricing scheme that could temporarily devalue heirlooms or limit how we'd be able to give them out in the future. And he goes on to say, rather than make players face buyer's remorse and hand-wringing decisions about when to buy, we're going to give the Justice heirloom vendors some time off while we work on improving the system as a whole. So, in general, it only affects quickly heirlooms for Justice, PvE heirlooms, heirlooms for Justice. PvE heirlooms are going to remain in the Darkmoon Fair and Trial of the Crusader, and PvP heirlooms will continue to be available for Honor. So it's literally just the Justice ones that, as they start to think about the new system, they're taking out the game for a little while.
Yeah, because they've said that they're going to have that system where you have a tab for your heirlooms. Yeah. So like when you create a new character, you just open your tab and you're like, I need these ones, and it puts it in, like they're doing the toy box.
That's awesome.
And so... And then a little while ago, they announced that feature got pushed back. It's not going to be at release because they're still working on it. So it sounds like heirlooms are the Justice Point heirlooms are probably going to go away until that is put in. And then they'll bring it back because they'll have a new way to purchase them or get them or something.
Indeed.
Fingers crossed. I mean, at the end of the day, though, do you think heirlooms as a system need to be changed much?
No.
No, I think they're good.
I mean, they should still remain fairly pricey, but not like you can just go pick them up easily, but not something you necessarily have to spend time farming a lot either. Yeah, I really don't think they need to be changed at all, really. to switch to a decent gold price.
Do you think it would be nice to? I mean, what I'm trying to say is, do you think there's any way that it could be improved? I mean, would you like to see a total revamp in the appearances of heirloom gear?
Maybe.
Do you think maybe it's got a bit stale? I mean, that's one thing I've always had with heirloom gear is I hate the fact that if I create a character, I kind of have to take a set heirloom gear most of the time, and I don't always like it. And yes, you can transmog it.
Yeah.
But maybe it might be nice to have something that's a little bit more unique.
A visual overhaul would be cool. Another thing would be like, say like once you have a full cloth set, for example, and you wanted to level a mage and a warlock at the same time, or a priest, or whatever. You should be able to access those from your heirloom tab without actually having to go to one alt, take it off, and then the other one.
Well, that's what they said. That's what the heirloom tab is for.
So it won't actually take it off your other?
No, it creates that item in your inventory.
Okay.
So, that way you just go, okay, I need it, boom. And that way you can't accidentally delete tunes that have your only copy on it, stuff like that.
That's cool. Well then, I don't think it should be changed at all, like I said.
Yeah, I think they're going the right direction, but like you said, a visual overhaul would be really cool. Update the heirlooms to have the higher polygon count and everything the new models do so that they match well.
Yeah, you're just going to look like you're...
Yeah.
I don't know, it just...
It like
reduces the good pixels.
From my brief time on the PTR, it looks like even the current armor actually does look a little bit better on the new models.
It does. It definitely does.
I mean, it's not like it's not like the actual new gear that's being made, but it does look better already.
Yeah, I mean, and that has a lot to do with, they released the blog post this week, actually. It's kind of really techy, so if you're not really into, like, graphics, how that stuff works, you might not really understand what the blog post is about, but they've really changed their, a lot of stuff to their engine that a lot of people won't even notice, but I myself fiddled around with the graphic settings on the PTR, and it makes a difference. And it just, everything feels so more fluid about the game. So that might be a part of it. All right. Yeah. I was just about to say something, but I held back for a second. It's going to be one of these situations where once we're in the next expansion, we'll be able to see clearly where we can go. I think a lot of people are trying to picture how things are going to look and how they should look, and once we get through the other side, and Blizzard does then offer the transparency to see how the expansion has been built and where it can go, we'll sit there and go, we'll let them figure that out over 8 months. So we're kind of getting anxious, Blizz. Come on, Blizz. All right, another short little piece of news here. Not really news either, it's just kind of speculation, but all hail Gromlock. This is what people are wanting for the Murloc pet to be at BlizzCon. This is not confirmed, correct? This is hopeful.
I believe so. Oh no, sorry, no, it is announced via the official World of Warcraft Twitter. This will be the BlizzCon.
It is. Okay, well, yes. Gromlock is the new Murloc then.
I like it.
I love how he's wielding a little Gorehal.
That's the best part, is the little Gorehal. Look at it. Oh my gosh, I love the little Murlocs they come out with. They're so funny.
I do too. It's quite enjoyable.
I loved the Crusader one last year. And it does the falling sword ability.
I still use that one on most of my characters.
Same here. Merc a lot, I think, right?
Yep. Or Mercablo the year before.
Why are Murlocs not a playable aspect of this game?
Everyone loves them. Murlocs.
I found
this character.
I found this awesome piece of fan art of like a Murloc hunter, and it looks so completely like badass. I'm just like, I want this.
It should be
so
something
bad right now.
Added into the toy box at least, like transform your character into a Murloc for 15 minutes or something. That would be cool.
Or just make it the next neutral faction, like pandas.
Designing armor for a Murloc would be really tough.
It would be amazing.
I'm with you. I think Murlocs should be the thing. And they can only play one class, and that's a specific Murloc class.
Just, you're a Murloc. Done.
Yep, you lick things to death.
Your only ability is the Murloc yell, and what it does is it summons lots of other Murlocs to attack for you.
Yep, game complete.
I'd just love to see that introduction. If we're going to play on the Pandaren aspect of having a neutral faction meet the Horde and the Alliance, I would love to see the Murloc ambassadors meet Vol'jin and Varian. And I'm just trying to sit there.
I don't know what you're saying.
All right.
The Great Murloc Empire. Anyways.
So we're going to move on to our discussion topic this week. And it was a breakfast topic on Joystick, or on WoW Insider. WoW, yeah, that's the one. Yeah. WoW Insider. And I thought it'd be a pretty good one to talk about on the show. Should WoW have romantic options implemented into the game? I mean, I've heard plenty of romance stories of people who have actually met their true love in World of Warcraft and have come together and have babies and whatever, life things. All through World of Warcraft, should there be options to implement WoW romances in the game?
Now that they have garrisons, I think it could actually work. Before the introduction of garrisons, I'd be like, how would you do that? But now you have your own little private space. Why not?
For 5,000 gold, build the Love Shack.
Yes. Insert 1 gold to make bed vibrate.
People would have no money left. They just buy all that stuff.
I don't have any more gold.
I upgraded my Love Shack to 3 tiers. It has a jacuzzi.
Yes, and candlelight.
I don't know. Like, how would you make this work? Like, would you have like a dating system or an in-game marriage?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, what Matthew Rossi is talking about in the article is sort of almost like a Mass Effect approach to the game. So it's basically the idea that you could pursue, like you were saying, Zor, pursuing relationships with NPCs potentially. But one thing that, unless I've misread it, doesn't get addressed is you've got NPC romance interests that you could pursue for the sake of narrative, but then you've got, like you say, outside relationships with other characters who might have developed into more meaningful things. I mean, if you've got a husband and wife, or 2 guys, or however the combination is, if you've got 2 people in a relationship, and they want to show that relationship, why isn't there an option potentially for that? I mean, maybe Blizzard thinks it's going to be like a storm in a teacup, and it causes a lot of fuss for very little impact. But still, I think at this stage in the game's history, where one of its great aspects is that it has managed to nurture these relationships, and particularly the industry in very large RPGs allows you to nurture these relationships, even with NPCs. There's no reason why it couldn't be in there. I think, if anything, it's just Blizzard's worry that, I don't even know, I just think they might worry that it wouldn't do any good. But then again, maybe it makes WoW seem a bit backwards.
I don't know. I think not just romance. It'd be cool to implement just the whole type of like relationship tree that you could have with characters, just like set up.
I want a bromance.
Hey, my brother is playing this game. I want that to be indicated through our characters, or this guy's my best friend in real life. I'd like to implement that somehow through our characters.
Yeah,
that'd be. I don't know how they do it. It'd be cool though. And then of course, like the article was actually more talking about relationships with NPCs.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting
Baldur's
too.
Gate, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, all that stuff.
One thing, if I can just add very quickly, I've always thought, a couple of shows ago, we talked about garrisons, and I think we got into a discussion about child support eventually, about if you separate, you kicked out, all your workers become unemployed. We got into a big discussion about that. But one thing I wanted to say was that I thought this idea that what if, the idea at the time was, what if your garrison, if when you logged in on a character, you had your other characters of the same faction in your garrison? What if, on top of that, if you've got someone, like you say, a particular relative or friend that you want to recognise, why not have an option where you can select 5, 10 maybe at most people in-game who can then have their character appear at your garrison and you can label a title there. I mean, that'd be really cool. I mean, it can't take that much work, surely.
Or like a completely shared garrison, like no matter what, like you both share that garrison and you both upgrade it. You don't have separate ones, it's all the same one, like a family garrison. And I've heard like talk of adding like guild garrisons, like that could become a thing, so could follow that line potentially. But what would you guys rather see? Would you rather see implemented relationships between your character and NPCs, or in-game relationship between you and other players?
I'm a big fan of BioWare. Since the old Baldur's Gate days, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind, all that stuff. And then Mass Effect and Dragon Age. So if they could do something like that, I'd be hugely for it.
What about you, Tom?
I think I want to say both, but at the same time, to answer the question, I think for the betterment of the community, it might be cool to have NPC-based ones, mainly because, like you say, BioWare, your Mass Effect, things like that. The thing about those aspects of those games, the romantic aspects, is not that you're supposed to treat them like real relationships, but that they add a personality to your character that just makes it so much different. There's so many Commander Shepherds. Well, my Commander Shepard pursued this particular relationship as well as all the other aspects that make him or her different. Maybe it just makes the character feel a bit more real. The problem is obviously how do you balance out those relationships? I mean, naturally you've got to have different sexualities come into it. But saying that, I think Mass Effect does it very well. You say other games all have done it very well. So I would not be surprised if Blizzard could find a way to do it well at all. But I mean, what do you think?
I actually do agree with both of you. I would like to see it in-game with NPCs, mainly because I'd honestly like to see more kind of single-player content in World of Warcraft. Because there's a lot of times when I'm playing WoW and I just kind of like to do my own thing and not necessarily involve myself with other people. I know that kind of goes against the whole MMO side of WoW. But having stuff like that to do, like single progression or story arcs that you can do with just your character and another character, I don't know, I think that'd be a really interesting dynamic to totally change the feel of the game, too.
Yeah, but it would be a huge amount of work.
Right. Next
I mean, because they'd have to introduce branching dialogue trees with NPCs, which they don't have. Yeah. And if they wanted to give people, because people are going to complain if they don't have the option they want, which means you're going to want to start out with at least one male and one female option for every single race.
Right. So,
So it's a lot of work. And even then, it'll be like, wait, but the only female panda option is a monk, and I wanted a female panda mage as my companion. It would be a ton of work.
It would be. Definitely. It's just something to really think about, I guess.
Maybe, I guess, at the same time, just very quickly, I won't linger. If you do it with a character-based, a player-based option, I guess, like you say, you can remove all those variables. If you're building relationships, you've got family or you've got friends, and you're labeling that way, and say you're getting certain buffs for playing with those people, and introducing people into those units, then that in a way that kind of takes all the not all the work, but obviously it puts the pressure on the player base to make it real, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, to bring back to the cinematics team, I mean, it would. Just seeing how good these new cinematics are, it would be another cool thing to add if, every time you do have a conversation with, your partnered NPC, you had these really well-crafted cinematics as well.
Like when you hit milestones with them or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I mean, just to go back to that, I'm so excited for the future of what they're going to be adding into cinematic-wise for the game. Yeah. Anyway. Moving on to our other weekly segment that we do, Lords of Draenor. This week we're talking about Kilrogg Deadeye, ironic since it was Pirate Week, YAAARRR! He was featured on this week's Lords of War, and as usual, I will go ahead and play the beginning of the episode, but not too long, so enjoy.
taking the fight to our enemy may be the only option left to stop history from repeating. This very city was nearly burned to the ground by the same warlords we face!
Don't lecture me, Murad. I was there. I lived it. The only thing that got my people through those dark days was their faith in the light.
Faith is a powerful weapon.
So I'm told. The Alliance has the light from which to draw its strength. What steals this iron horde in its darkest hours?
One clan, the Bleeding Hollow, finds truth in the surety of their deaths. They are led by an orc named Kilrogg. Kilrogg's clan once ruled over the jungles. Until the YAAARRR came.
All right. Definitely a totally different feeling from last week's and other previous ones as well. What do you guys think? I myself loved this one.
Yes.
By far my favorite Lords of War so far. I didn't really know much about Kilrogg personally, like not one of the old warlords that I followed too much. But man, I'm much more interested now after watching this one.
What is it about this warlord in particular for both of you that sort of makes him so interesting?
He's terrifying.
Yeah.
He's just like this orc that has this presence of, like, if I were to meet this guy in real life, I mean, if I met any orc in real life, I'd be terrified. But this guy he's got that presence to him just from this video alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, he's a much more subtle menace than like Kargath and Gramash. You know, like they're screaming in your face and fighting, and Kilrogg is just kind of like there, and he will kill you.
Yeah. Like, just without a second thought, hand through your chest, pulling your heart out. That's why they call him Deadeye. Not because he has a Deadeye, but, well, yeah.
Well, because he stabbed his eye out.
Right, but
to see the future.
He's also just dead in the eyes, you know?
Yeah, you don't see him there. But, like, since the original Warcraft Orcs and Humans and Warcraft 2 days, Kargath and Kilrogg were my favorites. And after the Lords of War, little cinematics, they're still my favorites. Both of them, to me, so far, are they seem the most menacing and the most dangerous for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Just sort of building from that, when we go back to, well, was it 4 weeks ago? It is 4 weeks now. When Chris Mason said, we're going to have these Lords of War segments on the most meaningful warlords of the entire expansion, the ones who can play the most pivotal role. I mean, do you think that, in a way, we can kind of guess how these warlords are going to interact? In a way, sort of have a stab in the dark at the storyline?
Not necessarily, because, I mean, this is really just to get us a backstory, kind of get us to feel what we're up against, and that's kind of the whole point with Valen, or not Valen, whatever his name is. Murad, explaining that to Varian.
I did love that bit where he's like, don't lecture me, Murad. That's what exactly has been happening for the last 3 years. You've been lectured non-stop.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just a big fan of the series. Was that the last one, or do we have one more to go?
I think that was the last one.
I believe it was the last one, only 4. I mean, who's your favourite so far out of all 4 of them?
That one, by far.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, obviously, I think Duratan is probably one of my favorites of the clan. I mean, he's Thrall's father, and he's this major character. But out of all the videos, I'd have to say that this one, Kilrogg, was awesome.
And the thing I'm finding still is that I can't... It's still so difficult, and I've noticed there's a lot of articles still coming out about this. Obviously we're not the only ones to notice this, but Blizzard have really come out with you know, so many shades of grey with this Iron Horde. It is still so hard. Like we said last week, they're gonna make him so bad. It's gonna be almost unequivocal. Sorry, that he's gonna, you know, the Iron Horde's the bad guys. It's gonna be very clear. So, but still, you have to sit here and think there are so many understandable motivations here, and not in the least that you can understand that they are such an interesting thing. The reason I talk about this is because we've come to realise that unlike probably any other enemy, like in Pandaria, we never really understood the Shah. We never really had to understand the motivations of a lot of our enemies. You know, maybe going back to Vanilla, where Nixia was a big part of it, we understood the motivations that it built on out of that. But this seems like it's really, really deciding to invest in the enemy as much as our story.
Well, I mean, probably my favorite story arc in all of Warcraft is Arthas and his whole, start off to ending, and that was the first character that I could follow from his beginnings to his end with the book and everything. I really felt the emotions of that character and what drove him to do what he did. And then at the end, when he finally died and his father and all that stuff, it was kind of an emotional character, and you didn't really see that before or even after for the longest time. And that's another reason why I'm so excited, is they're really getting you to see the motivations behind the warlords again. So maybe we'll actually care when we kill them instead of, boss is dead, yay, loot.
Exactly.
Yeah, to me now, especially with this final one, I'm kind of having the opposite problem as you now, Tom, because I'm starting to be able to go, okay, yeah, these guys need to be stopped, because they're coming across as incredibly menacing. I may be able to see where they're coming from and kind of, exactly, I can see their motivations. They are well-rounded. I can see why they're doing what they're doing. But that doesn't change the fact that they are attacking us. Yeah. They may not be evil, but they are the enemy. They are attacking us, and with how menacing they seem from these videos, they will destroy us if we don't stop them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to get steamrolled. I'm not getting Iron Starred again.
I mean, just think, if we don't stop them, then you're going to have Kilrogg and his clan in our jungles slaughtering you the second you step into the tree line. You're going to have Kargath out like in the deserts just taking us down. I mean...
they've done a great job of making our enemy known. And that's a good thing. We now know why we're fighting them, not just, hey, there's Shah over here. Now we're fighting this guy on a Thunder Island. Oh, and now Garrosh is bad. No, we know our enemy, and that's been shown to us very clearly. I like that.
Do you feel like we missed out by not... I know, obviously, going back to Metzen's justification of why there's only 4, but do you think, really, it would be nice to have all of them?
Oh, I'd love to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as a lore person, yeah. But I get why they're doing it this way, too. These ones are the essential ones to the storyline, so I get why they're doing it. But, yeah, as a lore nerd, I'd love to see one for every one of them.
Although, I'm interested to see why Kargath and Kilrogg are going to be central to the story.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, we've heard more, obviously, about Grommash, but also, like, Blackhand. Yeah. We've heard more about Blackhand than just about any others, probably because he's the first, end-tier boss.
Yeah.
For the first tier. But we haven't heard much about what part Kargath and Kilrogg will be playing, so...
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
So moving on to our another segment of the show, The Prince's Gaze, where we look at the community of the World of Warcraft. And we briefly touched on this earlier, but Blizzard has debuted a new segment on their blog called The Engineer's Workshop. Taking a look at this is where they're going to dive deeper for people who are techie, who are tech enthusiasts, like to talk about high-end computer stuff. This is where they're going to talk about a lot of their changes going into the engine for WoW and what they're doing to improve it for people who use high-end computers. Have you guys had a chance to read The Engineer's Workshop this week?
I haven't personally. I'm on the verge of doing it, but I mean, just to add what comment I can, I think it's great that, without sounding really cliche, I'll just put it out there, Blizzard, it's nice to see what Blizzard is doing inside. It's just nice to have this transparency. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I'm not a shareholder in Blizzard, but I feel like I've invested in this company and everything it provides. So it's nice to know what's going on. I mean, it totally works because people also want to know what's taken so long. Why has Warlords, been such a huge development? This demonstrates it. But at the same time, if you are interested, if you're part of Blizzard's gaming community, not only WoW, but if you play all the other games as well, and you want to see how they operate, or you want to be part of that, then this is definitely something you want to check out.
I'm personally excited by this just because, as someone who has, a custom-built PC, who's kind of a tech enthusiast, it's something that I enjoy a lot. I love to see Blizzard kind of appealing to people like me, showing like, hey, this is what we're doing for you guys who have spent a lot of time on your computer and want better from a 10-year-old game. This is what we're doing. I think it's pretty cool. Well,
yeah, it's amazing.
It's cool that they're giving all this more technical info on what they're doing.
10 years. That's the thing, just echoes. I just can't believe they. Most people, if you have a 10-year-old car, you're surprised that it's getting you to work. Yeah. So this is something that supports a player base of just under 7 million, and it's still going strong. Yeah, so and it's only going to be updated in a couple of weeks.
Unlike a car, it actually runs better with time than.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anything else on that before we move on to our final segment of the show?
No.
All right, so to our final segment, Heroes Call, where we give shout-outs to members of the community. And I believe, Zool, you had one in particular that you wanted to start off with, so we'll go ahead and have you start.
Yeah, I just wanted to, if people haven't seen it or heard it or know that it happened, Scott Johnson, of course, the Instance, Frogpan Studios, all that kind of stuff. He had an interview with Chris Metzen this week, and it was an awesome listen. It wasn't an interview with Chris Metzen, of Blizzard about WoW. It was just an interview with Chris Metzen, just talking about the things they enjoy, the nerdy stuff they're into, all that kind of stuff. And it gives of course they talk about WoW, obviously. They do, but it's about a lot more. And it's just really cool. It gives a good background on sort of where a lot of the stuff is coming from, why some of it's happening, why things are the way they are. It's about an hour long, I think, or just under. And it's just a really, really good listen. They talk about Marvel, Dungeons & Dragons, Warcraft, 20 years, and World of Warcraft for 10 years. They talk about all that kind of stuff. And it's a really, really cool listen.
Where can we check this out?
It's on the feed for the Instance, because it is considered like a special edition of the Instance.
All right.
So if you go to the Instance webpage or the Instance podcast feed on iTunes or anything, it's in there after last week's episode, which it usually comes out on a Friday or whatever, because it came out just a couple days ago.
Awesome. Sounds good. Any other shout-outs this week?
I'd like to give a quick one to the Realm Maintenance podcast, because they've been absolutely amazing and sort of not just us, but really connecting podcasts and people who want to work on projects, or if you make music or you make machinery or something like that. They're just a great force in helping people like us really sort of get to do what we want to do and sort of connect with the community that we love. So everyone involved, not just Ro, but the whole Realm Maintenance podcast team and everyone involved with that, I just want to say a big thanks.
I want to give a shout out to a fellow coworker. He just started working with me, and his new nickname for me is Wow Crendor, because it is miraculous. He sounds just like him. It's weird. So shout outs to you, Crendor, at work. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in again to Geeks of Azeroth. Our numbers keep going up, so we're very, very thankful to everybody who keeps checking out the show week after week. Very thankful to you. You're helping us grow. You can always check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Coming to Hitbox very soon, hopefully. I say that every week, so sooner and sooner.
It will be soon. It will be.
You can also catch us on Twitter, at Geeks of Azeroth. You can catch me at Tarly_pause. That is with a Z.
You can find me at Zulgeek, and just quick shout out to all you people out on Twitter, because I hit over 100 followers this week. Yay!
And you can find me at TC McIlroy. And another quick shout out. So if you are into pirate sort of music, check out. If you've ever wanted to mix sort of pirates with heavy metal, then I recommend checking out Ailstorm. They're an amazing band, but that's for another show.
All right. And definitely, again, we want your viewer questions, so send them into Geeks of Azeroth, eg@gmail.com. And if you're interested in our show and want to see others like it, we have Geeks of Nexus. Also, the Epic Geeks podcast. All of this can be found at epicgeeks.co.uk. Much podcasts, such Let's Plays, much WoW. Check it out. And we'll be back same time next week, everybody. Hope you have a great week in Azeroth.
Arr.
Yarr. All right.